Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's game of Blades in the Dark. I am super excited to be able to dive into this. It's my first time both playing and running Blades in the Dark. So, one, I apologize to anyone who is a big Blades in the Dark fan and has played it a bunch and knows all the rules and the setting. We're going to do our best because none of us have got to play this before. Some of us have like some more knowledge of it than others, but I think this is everyone's first time rolling dice in the world of the Shattered Isles and the city of Duskfall. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah. Before we do jump into the game, why don't we do a round of introductions, as there are some new faces on the channel and some returning faces. Why don't we start with let's see, to my that way is Ed. Welcome back, Ed. How's it going?
Going good. I'm happy to be back here on the channel after just playing Daggerheart back on Friday. But yeah, like Jeremy said, this is my first time playing Blades of the Dark. I'll be playing Henry Beaumont, the Whisper, sort of a spooky guy, and really glad to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Looking forward to meeting Henry as well. I love Henry's overcoat. Everyone has such great figures from Hero Forge this time around. I mean, really every time, but this one just really made me happy. This collection of people. Below me is Juicy. I believe this is your first game on the channel.
Yes, it is. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm excited to have you here. Why don't you tell us about yourself and who you're playing?
Yes, hi, I'm Juicy Garland, Boston area drag queen and super nerd. I do lots of actual play stuff with anyone who will let me, but especially with Tabletop Tailspinners, where I am head of PR for that small but growing network. I'm in Monster Hearts 2 actual play podcast called All Our Faults that I am personally obsessed with. It is such gay chaos, and you should see it. So find All Our Faults anywhere you download your podcasts.
Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I love chaos. Perfect. All right. And last but not least, Wheezy, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us all about your character?
So I'm Wheezy Weasel Boots. First time on the channel, kind of a newbie to TTRPGs. And I'm playing Sigurd Sasquatch Ravenwood, the Cutter. Essentially, he is Granny's bodyguard and loose cannon wrecking ball.
Perfect. I love it. So, also, I am Jeremy. You can find me here because I am here. This is, I guess, my channel and stuff. You can also find me on the internet at WH Pubs in all of the socials, or head over to Wanderers Haven. No, sorry, WHpublications.com. Or go to that link tree that I just posted in chat. What was I going to say?
Well, that's you're right. Thinking, I've realized I didn't introduce my character.
Oh, that's right.
I'm playing Granny the Slide. Granny is a sweet-looking old lady who just has the sweetest and nicest things to say when she can. And then she cuts your throat.
Kill them with kindness.
And then a knife.
Poisons you with candy.
I love it. Perfect. So if you have not played Blades in the Dark, it is not only its own system, but it also has its own world, which is very interesting. I've spent many hours reading about the lore of it and trying to remember all of it, which I won't. So there is a world to it, which has experienced a cataclysm many years ago now, in which parts of the world shattered, but so too did the sun, bathing the world in darkness. Now, this darkness is not complete, as there are little motes of the sun that still burn dimly in space and kind of make the light of day a slightly brighter gray color than the dark of night. The city of Duskfall or Duskfall, depending on your manner of speaking, those who live here in this city that was built up from a small mining town many years ago, the the inhabitants call it both interchangeably depending on their preference. So if you hear us speaking of Duskfall or Duskfall, same place. It is a city built upon itself as over time, surrounding the river that the mining town was built next to, these buildings have just grown up and not really expanded quite that far, but it is a very packed in city with lots of individuals trying to scrape by, and each area of the city has its own district name, of which I forget them so often. There's so many of them, and we are not going to worry too much about that today, fortunately. What is important to know is that there is never natural light. Even when the moon, which for some reason still glows in the sky, without the sun to shine its light and reflect it back down on the world, even when the moon is in the sky, it's still dark here. There is no day. There is no blue sky. And so as our small group of people here are part of a crew, but this band of adventure, or this band of ne'er-do-wells, I guess I should say, are walking these darkened streets, we find that it is the streets are alive. Even though it's nighttime, it's alive with music and festivity. There are lanterns that are lit, some that are flames and oil-based or torches, and then others that glow with a eerie blue or green light. Now, these are powered by what is called electroplasm, which is literally the harvested life force of ghosts and the living that have passed on, because the dead no longer go on to a great reward. Now, when the cataclysm occurred, it was quickly realized that souls, the essence of life, no longer disappear or dissipate into some other realm. Instead, they slowly seep out of the body and become ghosts. Now, here in Duskfall, the reigning government has put into place plans to keep the city from being overrun by these ghosts who slowly over time, no matter their disposition in life, do go crazy. They succumb to madness and anger, becoming a hazard for the living. And so those who die are taken from wherever they died, their bodies transported to these vats of ectoplasm and dissolved there, their essence, their life spirit utterly destroyed. So there are those who aim for protecting the bodies of their fellows, as you all have seen. I'm just going to throw that out there. You do know that this happens. You have seen fellows that have been protected from the guards that come and take them away. There are mechanical bodies that are made for spirits such as these that a ghost can inhabit. So we will see, walking through this crowd of various size, you might see a small, almost dog-sized and shaped robot that might be wearing clothes or something that is speaking with a friend as the ghost that inhabits it is continuing on its existence. These are known as hulls. So if you see a hull, it is I know there's a word is right there on the tip of my tongue. Something spark. The technology that has been built to house these ghosts. You might also see Actually, you won't see vampires necessarily so much. They are a little more on the evil side of things. Not that you are all stand-up residents of Duskfall, but the vampires are a little more malignant. These are spirits that have inhabited true bodies and destroyed the spirits that lived within in order to continue their own existence. So as you're walking through and you see your fellow humans having this festivity, which is known as Moontide, it is the last day of the month, and this month happens to be Ulsavet, which is one of the 6 months that exist here. I believe I got that right. I believe there are 6 months in the year, each that are 60 days long. So we are at the cusp of 1 month into another, and your crew has dispersed throughout the night to enjoy the festivities. Can you tell me what Granny and Sigurd and Henry chose to do tonight to celebrate?
I think that we're at least going to get close to indulging our vices. And Granny is having a little bit of a tipple and leering at beautiful young men who pass by, catcalling them constantly.
Okay. Are you trying to get a reaction out of this, or is this just for fun?
It's just for fun for now. But
Okay.
We're going to see how things escalate.
Sounds good. So standing nearby Granny, I assume that Sigurd is keeping an eye over her, I was going to say deceptive form, because she's not as frail as she appears to be.
She's sort of hunched over, always a little shaky looking. Oh, so sweet, you know.
So what is Sigurd doing?
Sigurd has his elbow on her. He's facing towards Granny. He's got her in eyesight at all times, but they've learned from experience he can't stand behind her while she catcalls. It doesn't help.
There have definitely been those moments, I think, where Granny has shooed Sigurd away as the fun turns to more serious. I was going to say catch and release, but I don't know how many you've released of your.
If he dies, he dies.
And as Sigurd looms off to the side, what is Henry Beaumont up to?
I think Henry's probably having a little bit of a drink himself, and just really trying to impress one of the other patrons with just how smart he is. Just really trying to talk up his education, his background, just how much he knows about the city and about some of the arcane arts as well. And possibly being a little bit of an asshole about it.
Okay. Is this do you expect to have an outcome out of this? Should we make this the first roll of the game?
I don't think so. I think that this is just very indulgent, where Henry's just having a good time.
Okay. So as the festivities go on around you, you do notice a few of your fellows as they make their way through the night. It seems like many of them have already overindulged and are swaying their way back to your lair. Now, your lair, I've realized I did not name it, but it essentially is there's a business that sits out front along the street. It is a front. You know it is a front. It is we'll say it is like a makeover spot. It's kind of a new thing for the city. And in the area that you're living in, it's not really like a business anyone would necessarily expect to see, but a lot of the street workers, for example, do come in and they get prettied up before they go to work and such. But really you use it because you're keeping an eye out for those that you might be able to convince to become street workers, or especially when they are rather handsome, fine-looking fellows. You have a friend in the business by the name of Nirik. Now, Granny knows Nirik quite well. You've become friends over the years, but your crew kind of feeds the machine of Nirik's golden clock. Oh, sorry, the golden cock. That was a miss. It was the opposite of a Freudian slip, where I went the other way with it. The golden cock is where you have sent many a fellow to work off the contracts that you've convinced them to join into. Part of what they earn goes back to you and your crew, and part of it goes to Nirik and her, we'll call it, yeah, it's a pleasure den. It definitely has its, again, the word is escaping me, I apologize. There is a cabaret that it kind of fronts as, but there are many hallways and hidden rooms that go off from the main building that the law may or may not have an idea exists there, but fortunately many of them also frequent the Golden Cock, and so have not as of yet closed it down for any kind of illegal activities. As the night wears on and the festivities begin to peter out and slow, what are the three of you doing?
Sigurd's polishing off at least his third gin, neat,
Okay.
and watching Granny and the door, and trying so hard to pretend he can't hear Henry.
Excellent. Why don't we... You're pretty good... you're pretty stalwart when it comes to alcohol, I feel like. Yeah?
Tolerance has been built up over a number of years, yes.
Okay. Why don't we do a resolve resistance roll?
And how many d6 is that going to be?
So in your resolve column, in the first, under resolve on the far left, you should have that column. Are there any pips that are filled in? Two. Perfect. So you're going to roll 2d6 and tell me what each of those outcomes are.
We got a 4 and we got a 1.
Perfect. So the 4 is a success and the 1 is a fail, but so essentially it's a gamut, spectrum of success or loss, and if you succeed, essentially the anything 3 or under is ignored. So you got a success, but essentially your 4 is the lowest of option of success. In this case, you were expecting maybe to drink a little bit more tonight, and it's hitting you a little heavier than you thought it would. You don't know if it's you don't really know why. Maybe the gin is just a little higher proof tonight. This gin isn't really well maintained in a way of quality control. Tastes good tonight, but it's probably a little heftier than you're used to. And so you think this might be your last. Unless you want to get messed up.
It's a party. I think he's going to have one more.
Okay. So while you order your next drink, what is Henry doing?
I think Henry is just chatting with Granny about the great success that we're expecting. I think the reason that we've been celebrating is that we've there's a a whole caravan, which I believe is pretty unusual, of refugees expected to visit the city in the near future. And we have paid off the right people to make sure that a sizable portion of them pass through our front so that we get our pick of all of the new arrivals before anybody else can get their claws into them. And probably just talking a little bit of talking shop, but mostly just cackling about how rich we're going to be once we have these new faces and these new bodies to put to work.
Perfect. I do want to just throw out there real quick. We did have a conversation in session 0 that this is not human trafficking that we're aiming for. This is you sign this contract and become this this worker for this pleasure den. They're not.
No one is surprised about the job they found.
Right.
Oh yeah, we're not hoodwinking anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But you are rather good at convincing folks to sign their next several years over to you, essentially, or over to whatever brothel or pleasure den or whatever it is that you, even private
Chef.
Yes. Okay, so while the two of you are conversing, Granny, is there anything else that you are doing at the moment?
I just imagine the self-satisfied look on her wizened, wrinkled face as she's like drinking gin from a teacup, like a fancy teacup with a little golden, like Baroque handle. And she's like holding the saucer and picking it up and just like laughing with Henry about their success. She's very full of herself, I think, right now. She's very self-satisfied.
Perfect.
She's here to have a good time. Smiling like a goofy, toothy grin at all the hot young men. She knows if she has the coin to get tonight.
Nice. And in your mind, you're thinking of not that far from where you are. Is the lighted front of the Golden Cock. There are probably not street workers, but the eye candy that linger out front and are usually well lit, and there are torches that may or may not be laced with herbs and spices and maybe a little magic that also kind of draw people in. As you do so, you do notice that the night is getting on, and those who are celebrating are starting to thin out. There are fewer and fewer people in this area, in this bar that you're in, fewer people walking down the street. What's your plan?
I think Granny's itching to get into some trouble and seek out a new job. Because we've got a lot of money, we want to spend it. Maybe we want more money. Maybe we need to find something fun and risky.
So I feel like this is a conversation for your fellows to have with you.
Aye, so what do you think we need to do here tonight? The night is waning, but we're not.
Any prospects that case your mouth?
Was not prepared for that. Sorry.
And you, Henry, what do you think?
I think we just need to make sure that the crew doesn't get their heads too big. They're a part of this, sure, but they need to remember who's in charge and who put this whole caper together.
Aye, that'll be us. So we'd always remind them of that. But of course, you know, they have to earn their wages. So, do we make them do something for us? And go off on our own?
Are we talking about people we already know, or the incoming refugees?
I was assuming, like, the crew we already had is what we were talking about. But if there are incoming folks to screen and get through, we can start there if you want.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the crew and our lair or our hideout, right? The front, Jeremy, I think you said that was a makeover spot, right?
Right.
Like a salon or something.
I found the name if you want me to, or did you find it?
I was going to nominate a name if you didn't have one,
Oh.
but I'm curious what you came up with.
So your crew and perhaps this isn't necessarily the way it is. Your crew is called the Miracle Workers, and with the front being a makeover, it could also be called that. So, what are you thinking?
The idea that I had in mind was for the front or the salon, calling it Metamorphosis.
Okay. Is that what everyone would like?
I love how pretentious that is. Just the one name, the one word name. Yes. Metamorphosis in italics.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we throw our weight around, make sure that the crew has Metamorphosis absolutely spotless for tomorrow morning.
Is anyone want to inspect the goods before they go on sale? They should have any heads up about what might be in the shipment.
Sigurd is at this point drunk enough that if somebody steps on his shoe, a fight might start.
Good to know. Good to know.
Oh, young man, calm your tits. We don't need to get in too much trouble here. We keep this place clean. You don't
Yeah, I
shit
know.
where you eat. But, trouble does sound fun. So, maybe, what connections do we have to maybe go find something interesting? And maybe to find out what we need to do next. Is there anyone we can talk to for a little bit of direction?
So you do have your ties that you created during character
Yep.
creation. If any of those make sense to you, throw those out there.
I mean, my good friend is Nyrix, one of the ladies of the evening here
Right.
at the Golden Cock. And maybe Nyrix has a line for us to go pull on,
Okay.
or has information that'll help us make some decisions here. So, old Granny's just gonna scoot herself up, shake off the aches, take a last sip of the gin out of the teacup, and go in search of Nyrix.
Okay. Is
Sigurd grabs the cup and puts it in his back behind the bar. This is their regular hangout spot. This is her cup. He also looks quietly sad because he wants to be the source of information for Granny in the way that Nyrix is. And that's
Oh. One day, Senpai will notice you, I'm sure.
I'm like 8 feet tall. I'm hard to miss.
And Henry?
Sure, I could be convinced.
Okay. So as the three of you polish off your drinks and kind of organize whatever it is that you're carrying, what I don't know what you all brought with you, if you brought anything. And so if Granny has like her daggers that she's like making sure are all ready to go so you don't get jumped in the street, because these things happen in the area that you live. Nice. As you step out, you notice that while there are still festivities going on and there are still people in the streets, there's a low fog that has started to roll in. Now, this isn't a weird occurrence. In fact, this is a more common occurrence than it not getting foggy. It is the announcement that dawn is going to arrive probably within the next hour. It's much later than you really expected it to be as you step out. And as you head towards the Golden Cock, where you would expect to find Nyric, the streets start to become muddled with glowing hazes of blue and green and orange as the fog builds up and pushes off of the buildings and fills the what you can see.
Yeah, I can see in my head, like in the dim light, you just have sort of silhouettes of us sort of walking down the cobbled, wet street, the fog sort of with its tendrils. And like Granny is just there sort of hobbling, the massive like silhouette of Sigurd just sort of lurching behind, and then Henry adjacent. It's a nice little tableau.
Strutting.
I love
Absolutely
it.
strutting. Henry does not walk, Henry struts.
Mm.
Love it. And that's impressive for someone so large as Henry. No, sorry. Did you say Henry or Sigurd who struts?
Henry struts.
Never mind.
Look at that coat. Come on.
I'm going to retract that statement.
Mhm.
All right. So as you get closer to the Golden Cock, you notice that there is a brilliance to the fog ahead that's not typical. It's definitely brighter than you would expect, and probably brighter than you've seen before. You've never seen, daylight doesn't arrive and make the fog light up. Something very large and bright is causing the fog ahead to glow at the end of the street that you're heading down, and you know that there is a large kind of intersection ahead. It's not really a town square, but there is an intersection on the corner of which the Golden Cock stands on, kind of as a point that goes off from this intersection, and you start to hear screams.
The fuck is going on? Get behind me, man.
It sounds like danger. Be at the ready. And Granny's gonna take her dagger out, and it'll be in her hand.
Okay.
Sigurd has his weird chain gauntlet punchies ready. They're just chains wrapped around his hand.
Nice.
Who else is in the streets right now?
You look around and you notice that the three of you are walking alone. You haven't seen anyone really around for a couple of minutes, actually, and it hasn't really struck you as weird as it is. It's been a night of festivities and carousing and drinking, and a lot of people are probably in bed. But you do hear the screaming coming from up ahead where the glow is.
Okay. I think that Henry probably puts one hand in his pocket, just taking his flintlock probably onto half cock. But he's keeping an eye out for anyone that might be heading towards us, running or walking in our direction, because he wants some answers.
Okay. You do notice as before I say this, are you all continuing on towards the end of the street you're in? Or do you stop where you are?
Sigurd has started striding, not running, not jogging, but a fast, purposeful walk.
Oh, wait, hold on, son. Let me go try to check it out first. And she'll like curl up into herself a little bit, and she'll start like hobbling a little harder, and just does her best sweet old granny act. You're used to seeing this. I'd like to try going up ahead a little bit as a scout to like see if I can get information and bring it back to the boys, so when they go rushing in, they know what they're to be prepared for.
Okay.
Sigurd presses himself kind of in and out of the way corner around against a wall, keeping Granny in sight, but again, he can't be seen to be with her.
Okay.
And she'll give you a wink with like a glint in her eye and go back to the act.
And
Okay.
that just warms Sigurd's heart.
And Henry, what is Henry up to?
I think Henry is staying close to Sigurd, also watching Granny. He's uh, uh, he's sort of toying with some of the arcane implements in his vest,
Okay.
but he doesn't want to do anything with them just yet.
Okay. So, Granny, as you get closer, there's this warmth that isn't typically part of the nighttime fog, and it kind of gets humid and more sticky as you get to the end of the street, and you glance out around the corner just to make sure there's no one there, and it's breathtaking is the word, as the golden cock that is across the street, kind of off to your left, is just a raging inferno. There are people nearby that are tossing water from buckets. You can see like bucket lines. The fog around it has just completely burnt away, but you can see as the fog tries to like push around it. So there are just these tendrils and masses of fog rolling around it as smoke billows out from the upper windows, and the lower areas are just so hot that there's not even smoke coming out of it. The lights, the magical lights that are usually gone, or that are usually on, are completely burnt away, and you see only a handful of people that you recognize. One of them being, names, Nirik. She is standing several yards away from it, closer than anyone else, but away enough that she's not being melted by the heat coming off of the building, which you can just feel washing over your face as you peer around the corner.
Oh, ye gods. All right, then. And then she'll turn around and sort of hobble back through. Come, boys. The place is on fire. We gotta rush and help if we can. These are our people.
Sigurd starts rushing forward and looking for the most accessible entry point, the one that has the least amount of fire in it.
Okay.
And he glances back to make sure Granny hasn't followed him, and then he proceeds to look for people inside the building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Henry.
I think Henry's really worried about the books at the Golden Cock and what will happen if the Bluecoats arrive at the site of this fire and what they might find there. So he's not at all worried about saving people right now. He's really worried about the paper trail.
Okay. As you come around the corner, that fear kind of burns away. There is nothing that could survive this inferno. It is so hot. It is so bright and all-consuming. There are many people that are on the sides that are trying to keep it just from spreading to nearby buildings, but because it is on the corner, it's kind of like, I can't think of what that intersection is called, but it's kind of pie-shaped, and so the front of it is not near, really the building is not near anything that's going to catch, but it is so intense that it is unlikely there will be books that survive. And Sigurd, as you rush forward, there are no entrances that you see that are not filled with gouts of fire that are just erupting out. You can tell that the brick walls of the outside of it, there's a slight glow to them because it is burning so hot.
He starts kind of pacing and just
back. The stands out.
he starts trying to circle the building to see if he can find anybody, hear anybody, see anything. Do I see anybody like in the general perimeter of the building that's not running for their lives?
Yeah, so you see Nirik. She's kind of standing, clutching some things to her chest, staring at the fire. You see some of the workers that are nearby, some of the bartenders. They're all just kind of grouped together. Some are crying, some are consoling others, some are just staring blankly at the fire. Beyond those people you recognize, there are also others that seem familiar because you've seen them on the streets, that are probably neighbors from neighboring businesses. Many of them are trying to throw water on this, but it's kind of pointless. You do see the water like hits the flame, but it's not putting a dent in it whatsoever. And then there are just people who are watching, in horror, in complete losses to what to do.
He grabs a hold of Nirik, not unkindly, but not kindly, and starts pulling her back toward Granny.
Okay.
What the
So
fuck happened? Yeah, Mahabu looking for you. Come on.
I'm going to have you do a prowess resistance.
All right, so we got 3 in prowess. So how many d6s is that?
So roll 3d6.
Three, 1, 6.
Okay, so the 6 will remove any of the stress that you take from as you run forward. You try to you're essentially beginning to bake in your suit. It is that hot, and you get up to Nirik, and there's just sweat pouring down as she's so close to the fire, but she's just kind of like every so often trying to like reach out, almost like she wants to go back in. You notice that she has like a small grouping of things that she grabbed on her way out, probably, and you grab her. Do you want to drag her away?
I want to pull her away. She's
Okay.
she's still on her feet.
Yeah. So you pull her away, and
Like,
as
shoulder arm around, like arm one hand on arm, other arm behind, like ushering.
kind of like forceful guiding instead of like dragging her. So Granny, you notice as Sigurd has is kind of guiding this completely shell-shocked figure of your friend. Her red curls are just matted to her face. She's in like her nightgown. It looks like she was getting ready to call it a night. There was the Golden Cock never really closes, but you have to sleep at some time, and so she was probably getting ready for sleep, and she just seems completely oblivious to what's going on besides the fire. She kind of glances up at Sigurd and nods, like, "Oh yeah, that's normal that Sigurd would be here," or something. You know, she's just not really aware of what's going on. What do you do?
Nirix, what happened here? Who did this? Who do we have to kill?
Nice. To get through to her, I want you to do a roll, probably a resolve of some kind, but I'll let you choose what that is.
Let's go with Sway, because I'm
Okay.
trying to convince her to open up and break through the sort of shell shock she's experiencing.
Totally.
And what's my position? Is it controlled? Or is it desperate?
I would not say it's desperate. So is it controlled, risky, desperate?
I believe so, yeah.
We'll call this controlled, even though she is quite out of it. You're not in a directly dangerous situation.
Yeah, and would you say this is a standard effect? Or with our rapport, would it be more of a great effect, or do you think because of conditions it's limited effect?
Let's go with standard because of the conditions. Well, I would say with your rapport it would be better, but because of the conditions, we're going to put it in the middle.
Okay. All right. Then I rolled 2 6s and a 1.
Well, that's a crit. First of all, 2 6s, always a crit. So as you're talking to her, she blinks and her eyes focus, and she kind of glances to you, and you notice that the makeup that she wears to make herself, she's starting to age as well, and it's begun to like sink and dry into the lines on her face. You've never seen her in such a state, and her eyes become clear, and she looks at you. Granny, what are you doing here?
And she'll take Nirik's hand. We were coming here to see what was going on tonight and find information about what to do next. You though, this is madness. What is going on here?
And she kind of like you can tell it's taking her a moment to like join you in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks around and she looks back at the fire. I don't know. I was getting ready for bed, and then someone shouted to get out, and I don't even remember running. I remember there was the heat and the screams.
Did anyone see who did this? Did they leave any information?
She just kind of shakes her head. She's like thinking. You can tell she's thinking, trying to grasp what has happened and what she may have heard in the interim. But nearby, you do see one of the bartenders. Her name is what?
Brathilda.
Brathilda comes over. Her hair is just disheveled. There are lines of soot on her face. She has burn marks on her hands. And she's kind of cradling them. No one has helped her. There's no medical aid being given right now. And she manages to come over. You can see the scorch marks on her clothes. We don't know where it started. It was somewhere in the back, but it consumed everything so fast. I've never seen anything like this. Even when like the torches get out of hand, there's nothing that has ever burnt that fast before. I've never seen this. I've been asking around to see if anyone has seen someone that did this, but no one has seen anything.
It started around the back, you see.
Further back from the cabaret, which is where she works the bar. So when she says the back, what she's talking about are like the rooms and hallways that make up the living areas and the pleasure dens. So not in the cabaret, which is where you can see right now.
Right. Okay. Is there any way we can access that area outside of the blaze and maybe gather information?
It doesn't look like right now that you could do that. Maybe after the fire.
So I had a idea for a flashback here. So we don't the miracle workers don't own or operate the Golden Cock, but it's sort of the marketplace where we are most comfortable and most influential,
Mm-hmm.
right? There shouldn't be much going on there that we don't know about. So I'd like to imagine that as a crew, in the past, we have set up an arrangement with one of the, or several of the local homeless to keep an eye on any shipments coming into or out of the building that is not from the miracle workers.
Okay.
So I think that in the present, I would want to try to head over to whatever urchin we've tasked with keeping an eye on the cock.
Okay. Now that you're kind of investigating all of this, I'm going to bring up the fact that this system has things that are called clocks that are kind of the way to track how something is going. So you are all trying to track what started this fire. So let's call this clock fire bad. And we're going to leave it at a 4. Yeah, we'll leave it at 4. And let's mark 2 because of your conversations and that you have had and are about to have. So what is this urchin's name there, Ed?
I think the first guy I would go to would be Greasy Wilbur.
Greasy Wilbur. I need to really quick write down Brethilda, the barmaid, and Greasy Wilbur, the street
That
urchin.
poor kid.
I love that name so much.
I have questions, but we're not going to delve into that right now. So Greasy Wilbur is, you look around for any of the urchins that you have under your employ, and nearby, but kind of sitting in an alleyway with his back up against the wall so he can see the intersection and the fire that's going on. His eyes are wide, and he's like kind of nursing a brown paper bag that has a bottle in it. As you approach, what do you say to Greasy Wilbur?
I think that Henry snatches the bottle out of Wilbur's hand and just commands him, "Eyes up, man. What happened here?"
At first, he notices your arrival, but doesn't really say anything until you snatch the bottle away. Oh, what? Oh, it's you. How am I supposed to know what's going on here?
What in the blazes do I pay you for otherwise, man? You look like you've been here all evening nursing this rot. I asked you a question.
What's it worth to you?
Sigurd walks over and takes the bottle from Henry and takes a swig.
It is horrible. The gin you were having earlier is like really like much better in comparison. This is like
He regrets
rot gut.
drinking this. He's not going to show it, but he regrets this.
Is this kind of an intimidation type of thing? Like, are you trying
He
to?
is hemping Henry. Well, that's what he would tell you he's doing. I don't know if he's going to be helping.
Okay. So
Oh, shite. Even so, they're called shite.
excellent.
Okay, I'd say something. I am in no fucking mood this evening, boy. You ever want to see a silver from us again, you will start spilling.
Wilbur eyes you, looks higher up at Sigurd. I didn't see nothing. I'm sorry, sir. I should have had more respect. I've been here most of the evening, but there's always a chance somebody that you told me to watch out for might slip by.
Worthless. I've always said, fucking worthless.
You get what you pay for.
Speaking of, I have my bottle back. I paid for that.
He said, no.
And he just drowns the thing. And he feels like rising nausea at the last drop, but he finishes it and tosses it into the street and it shatters.
Okay. It's not so much. I'm not going to have you make a roll for this one because it's not so much that it is highly alcoholic. I mean, it is, but you're pretty okay with that.
It's just nasty.
It's nasty. All right. So as this conversation is going on, and you've, as far as Wilbur has told you, there was no deliveries going in or out what's Granny doing?
Granny, I think, wants to, when she's done with Neric, walk around and see if there are any other urchins.
Okay.
And see if there's anyone else who's seen anything. Because if that kid is just too drunk to function, then maybe there's a less drunk child somewhere.
Totally.
So she'll put on her best sweet granny act and just start like walking around. Neric, I'll be back. I'm gonna go find out some more information if I can.
Okay. So
We always hope there's a less drunk child somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the one that you had spoken to is kind of like a more like homeless fellow that is out there a lot, whereas you're looking for like kids that are in the area that are more like rascals that might get into things, and so you find a small group of them that are actually that they live actually several streets over, but the commotion, they seem to be over here watching, even though it is quite early in the morning or late at night. However you want to view it. And of the 5 of them, as you approach, a couple of them do dart off, but the ones that you pay for information remain.
Oh, children, it's nice to see you again. Come to Granny. Come over here and give me your best information. What you say about that? You know Granny loves the secrets.
They walk over, and there's a small red-haired girl that every so often when you look at her, there's this like familiarity to Neric that you're not totally sure. Maybe they're related, but you're not 100% sure on that. And she steps forward. What is this rascal's name?
Marty.
Marty, the rascal, steps forward. The other 2 that are with her are equally grimy, but don't have as much of a backbone as Marty does. And she's obviously the leader of this little gang. She steps forward, and so I'm trying to think of what her voice is. Her voice is just like this. Oh, Granny, did you bring candies this time?
Oh, you know that Henry's the one who comes and pays you, but I have a little sweetie in my bag if you want it. Oh, not that one. But I have others. Now, tell me, if you tell me anything you saw here and it's valuable, you know Granny needs that value, she'll give you candy. She's got a hard candy for you.
From the shadows, Sigurd is just sort of watching.
Okay.
Watching her work.
Okay.
And she smiles with all 6 of her teeth, each in a different direction.
Perfect. Marty takes on this kind of, secretive look as she looks around. Says, well, we didn't see anything tonight, but we did notice that there's been some, like, strange going-ons recently.
What you mean by that, Marty?
She'll pull out one of the hard candies and, like, hold it just out of reach.
You can Granny what you got for her. And this is yours.
She looks past you. And she's obviously looking at somebody. You can keep us safe, right?
Oh, Granny'll do whatever she can. Do we need to go somewhere else and chat? Maybe somewhere dark where they can't see.
And Granny will look in the direction her eyes went.
You see a bunch of the workers, and so there's like Neric, and all the workers have kind of gathered round.
Yeah, okay. Can I maybe sway Marty?
Yeah. Well, let's find out.
All right. What's the position?
Let's
Risky,
go with
controlled,
let's go with risky.
Okay.
And
effect.
Effect is going
Standard limited.
Yeah, let's go with limited.
All right. 3 5s.
3 5s. Not a crit in this game, but all successes. How are you trying to sway Marty?
Here, child. Come over here around the corner where no one's looking and you can tell me anything you like. No one will ever know you gave me the secrets. How's that sound?
And she'll just waggle the like hard candy in its wrapper, little paper wrapper.
Marty looks at it and then glances past, and she's like, how about I meet you elsewhere shortly, wherever you want to meet, and just so I'm not seen walking off with you. And these two are going to head home so that they're safe.
Oh, okay then. Candy'll go away for now, but I'll meet ya.
And there's this like certain sense of like proudness or something. You're like, this girl really like knows what she's talking about. Like she's a
smart
thinker.
kid.
Yeah.
I like to shine on this one. She has
Right.
all her teeth.
Oh, she has all
She's
of her
got
teeth.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Um,
Marty.
Meet me. Insert information here.
Okay. Where would you like to meet? Do you want to, like down another street that's nearby?
Yeah, probably like a nearby alley that's not in like line of sight with what's going on here. That's probably the best. That way it's close. This can happen very soon, but it won't be connected to what's happening and it'll be secret enough for the kid.
Okay. So Sigurd, you know this is all going down. Are you following Granny as Granny heads off?
He follows her from a distance, watching ahead in the alleys and behind, trying to be as unobtrusive as he can.
Okay.
He's a little tipsy.
Okay. And Henry?
I think Henry basically discards Wilbur and follows Granny and Sigurd.
Okay. All right. So, Granny, you lead the other two from a distance as Sigurd's kind of heading back. As you go down a street and then take an alley, and then the street after that you take a right, and then you turn down another alley, and there's like a small like dead end area where two alleys essentially have come together to form this like little, it's not really a very large area, but large enough for you all to stand in and be secretive. And
It was like a cat in the background just meowing in the
Right.
trash. Yeah.
absolutely. As this orange cat with its long fluffy hair that's all matted and sticky with various substances hisses at Sigurd and jumps off and kind of scrambles off. You see Marty appear from the other alley.
Oh, come, child. Talk to Granny.
With these two looming men on the sides.
You weren't followed, were you?
Were we followed?
That is a good question. How would you tell if you were followed?
I assume my bodyguard would have been looking.
Sigurd, how would you tell if you were followed?
Let's see.
Do you want to do like a roll for it?
Yeah, let's do an insight roll, of which I have 0 points.
Love it. Yes.
So insight as a thing is a resistance. I'm not going to make you resist anything. Do you want to do either hunt, study? Actually, you don't have anything in any of these, do you? Okay, so just roll 2d6 and tell me what the lowest one is.
Oh, one fell. Love that. I hope they're good. I hope we got 2 6s.
Right?
All right, I got a 5.
So I got a 2.
So when you say you got a 5 there, Ed, is that because the die landed way over there?
Yeah, rolling on Wheezy's behalf.
It is banished from the material sphere.
You did not notice anyone following you, Sigurd.
I'll bet I didn't.
One too many drinks.
We didn't see anyone following us, child, so tell Granny what you got, and this candy's yours.
There's been some weird going-ons at the Cock.
Heard that before. Well, what is it this time?
No, not like the normal weird going-ons. Like, Nirik's been strange the last couple of days. And she's been kind of mean. And some of the others that, like, work with Nirik, like, really closely, have been the same way.
Oh, do you know why, child?
I don't know why. Usually they're really nice to us, and if they have extra food or whatever, they'll hand it out or whatever. And we went in the other morning after closing to see if they had anything, and that one other bartender that isn't Brathilda, her name will be that's too close
Johnny
to Marty.
Hotcakes.
Naughty Hotcakes?
Oh, that works too.
What did you say?
I said Johnny Hotcakes.
Oh.
I like the idea of like a lady bartender being Johnny Hotcakes. But Naughty Hotcakes also works.
So we'll do Naughty Johnny Hotcakes.
It bounces.
She was like downright rude. Like, oh, she almost hit me.
She did, child.
I don't know what's going on, but we haven't felt safe going in there. And when we saw the fire tonight, we had to come see if it had anything to do with whatever has been going on.
It's burning like a damn coal bunker, not a cabaret. When did this start?
Not long ago. Maybe an hour now, but not long before you showed up. Which is really fast for
Derek's
fire.
been mean for an hour?
Oh, no, I thought you meant the fire. No, she's been mean for a few days.
You know when that started, child? Which day? How many days ago?
3 or 4?
3 or 4 days ago. She got mean. Got it.
You just see it talking to someone you didn't know.
No, I mean, there's always somebody going into the Cock that I don't know, but it's not like I'm always watching the place. But the Rascal Network hasn't reported anyone that was like too untoward or strange.
Anything else you can think of, child?
Well, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but one of the rascals said that they saw Nirik like leave and come back a few days ago, which is, just before it started. So I don't know if she like got bad news or somebody's threatening her, or I mean, I don't know. She changed. There's something different. Mean.
It's a good child. Can you boys think of anything else to ask?
Sigurd looks at Granny, kind of like awaiting orders, and glances back towards where they had left Nirik.
Mm-hmm.
So you look that way, and you've gone down some various, side streets and alleys and stuff, and even still, the fog behind you is orange compared to the rest of it. It is just so bright, but you can't see the intersection where the Golden Cock currently still stands.
For now. Right. That's a good child. Here's your candy, and she'll like pat like Marty on the cheek. Now you go another direction out of here so no one catches you.
Yeah, good thinking. And she scrambles over and like hops up onto the trash can, and there's like a ladder from a fire escape on that building, and she jumps up and catches that and scrambles up that, and you see her disappear over the rooftop.
Sounds like there was a shakedown at the club. We should talk to Nirik. Alone.
You bring her tail, Mum.
It's a good boy. Go get her, lad.
So Sigurd walks quietly around back towards the intersection and looks for Derek.
Okay.
And this time when he finds her, he shuffles her a lot faster back towards Granny.
Gotcha. We'll come back to that real quick. Is Henry, or what are Henry and Granny doing? Are you like staying here and waiting?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Granny will stay and wait for Nirik to come, and maybe keeping an eye out for anyone watching.
Okay.
Henry would like to do something that in the near future that's going to involve a need for some privacy. So I think that he is doing the best job that he can to make sure that there are no one in even deeper shadows than we are, or peeking through windows or that sort of thing.
No kink shaming on this channel.
Never.
If arson gets you hot, that's your thing.
What a pun.
Okay, so if you want to leave Granny, you can get some privacy. Otherwise, until they come back, you would have to wait. Is that what you want?
I don't care about Granny or Nirik. I'm looking for other people to see if this is a private place for me to work.
Technically, you know that Sigurd is going off to bring back other people, or at least one other person. So here is probably not the best. So if you wanted to like scoot off to somewhere else and leave Granny here, you could do that. Or if it's something you can do before Sigurd comes back, then this would be a private area. If that answers your question. Sorry, I don't know if that's like too vague or not.
I'm not quite following, because I don't want, what I eventually want to do is I want to set up to compel a spirit to appear and answer some questions about what's going on.
Right.
But I'm not wanting to do that like right now. I just want to see if we can clear the street.
Gotcha.
So that I can do that later.
Perfect. You definitely think that you would be able to do that later. If you are waiting for Sigurd to get back, then you can do that. If you want to head off and do that on your own, either now or after Sigurd gets back or whatever, you just let me know when the time comes. Does that sound right?
Yeah. No, I'm waiting for Sigurd. I want him to watch my back while I work.
Perfect. Sigurd, you do get to the intersection and you find that Nirik is nowhere to be seen. You do see the group of people nearby that are workers that were kind of consoling each other earlier, but that group is shrunk. There's no Nirik. You don't see Naughty Johnny Hotcakes, who was there earlier, and now that you have now that came up, it just kind of like clicks in your mind that you saw Naughty Johnny Hotcakes earlier. Yes, I'm going to say her name every time. And there were some others that you had seen lingering that work in the various areas of the Golden Cock that are now missing.
So there are still some people
There are
present in this.
Correct. Yeah. There's still a lot of looky-loos. There are people who are like holding buckets, but at this point they've realized it's pointless to try and put this fire out.
Sigurd walks up to a group of looky-loos and grabs the nearest one and asks him if he's seen. Nirik has long red hair, right, and is in a dressing gown.
Yeah, so she has like some curly red hair that it was so plastered that was like it had like stretched out, that wet hair effect, and was wearing a nightgown. And then the others, some were wearing like their work uniforms. Only one other was apparently ready for bed.
All right, so we're grabbing a nearby passerby and interrogating them for information about which way the lady with the red hair and the dressing gown went.
So you grab this fellow. He has these like spectacles, like just kind of on his face, and like he's sweating. You can tell there's still heat coming from the building, and the fire is just raging. So he's been here for a little bit as the sweat has started to build up, and he keeps like readjusting his spectacles. And all of a sudden, you grab him, and he's like, "Ah, what do you want? I don't have anything on me. I'm in my knickers, man."
There's a lady with red hair. The dressing gown. She looks like shit. Where'd she go?
You have a really deep voice, and that's disturbing. I think she went that way. You're talking about the lady who owns the cabaret, right? Yeah, she went that way.
He sort of like shoves him away, like kid on the playground level of just like shoved by the head, and prowls off in that direction.
Okay. The guy like stumbles back and almost maintains his feet, and then just like lands on his ass. And you head off back towards the way you came from. Not, let me clarify, back the way you came from originally when you were first entering into the scene, not towards Granny.
Okay, he's going to proceed kind of along, not in the middle of the street, but along kind of the edge in the darker corner so he can find what he's looking.
Okay. Go ahead and do a... You don't have it, so roll 2d6. We're going to do a hunt. Unless you can come up with any reason why a different skill would make sense in trying to find where Nirik and the others went. I'm not sure I can think of anything. Like
I can't either, so
okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
So we got a 4 and we got a 2.
All right, so the 4 is a success. But so you do notice when you had been guiding Nirik away from the fire, she was clutching like an armful of stuff that looked like it had been taken from her room or something. I don't know if you've ever been in Nirik's room. That's a good question. Have you ever been in Nirik's room?
No.
Okay. So these might have been like keepsakes or something like that. As you're walking along, you find kind of scattered about, like they were just dropped, most of the things that she had been carrying, but not all. There was like a, kind of reminded you of like a Fabergé egg that she had in the collection of what she was holding. It is not amongst the things that you see dropped there. So you know that she did go this way, like that fellow said. But after that, you don't really see which way she went.
What kind of objects did I find? Are they like
So there's
lockets,
like
notes, hairbrushes?
There's like a couple of candlesticks and some like a hairbrush. There was a box that has some jewelry that's kind of spread around. Things that would have been like on a like a vanity that could have been swiped up and grabbed.
Sigurd looks around and he picks up the objects and turns back and walks back towards where Granny and Henry are.
Okay. So Granny and Henry, as you're waiting and you see the looming form of Sigurd enter the hallway, or not the hallway, the alley that you're in, you notice the fog is still that orange glow, and this shadow steps in. we are going to go on break because it is that time.
Can I ask a question before we do?
Absolutely may.
Looking at my special abilities and now reflecting on what Marty told us, I have, like, looking into a mirror, which I can always tell when someone is lying to me.
Okay.
Was Nirik lying to me about her state, or was she holding something back when I was trying to ask her if she knew who had done this?
Is there any role that you have to do it for it, or is it just like
Nope,
one
it's
of your
just I
abilities?
can always tell when I'm being lied to.
In the moment, you weren't really thinking about it because there was so much going on, and it was like unbearably hot. So, so many things were going through your mind. But there's been this weird doubt that has crept into your mind that something wasn't quite right. And with that, we'll go to break. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, so hang out and we will see you then. Hello everybody, welcome back to this episode of We Get to Play, during which we're playing Blades in the Dark. If you're just joining us, the golden cock is on fire, and there's no cream for that's going to put it out.
What a sentence.
I feel like I should be fired now, but that's it's my channel. We are in the midst of trying to figure out why the Golden Cock, the cabaret and brothel, pleasure house, den of awesomeness, etc., is being burned, and the proprietor of it has been disappeared. Whether that has been by choice or not, I think we're about to investigate. So, Sigurd, as you are rejoining the others in this fog-filled intersection of alleyways, what do you all do?
So what items did I find? I found 3 things, one of which was not the essentially Fabergé egg. What were the 3 things I found?
So you found a candlestick, a brush, and a jewelry box that had like jewelry in it. And it was kind of scattered, like somebody had dropped it and it had opened and flung the jewels all over. Obviously, they didn't care about that as they were leaving the scene.
So I returned with all of those items. I picked up some of the jewelry, the stuff in the immediate vicinity. He didn't look that hard. And present it to the random.
Lad, you were supposed to bring her back. What is this? Where is she?
I didn't find her. I just found this. The craft that she saved with her when she left out. The coffin.
She left the jewels?
She left the jewels. There was one big. She had like a shiny egg. So one thing that's not here.
Do I know what Sigurd's talking about?
Have you been in her room before?
I think, like, for conversations, because we are friends, that we've probably had some private tea.
Yeah.
At least once or twice.
So looking at it, you do now, now that, everything is kind of connected in your mind, you realize that these are definitely things from Nirik's vanity, like where she sits and does her makeup and her hair and all that stuff, her prep work for the evenings or going out or whatever. But this egg, that doesn't sound familiar.
I don't know what egg you're talking about. But if she left these things, I doubt she left willingly. We should go find Naughty Johnny Hotcakes. That one'll have answers, I think. If she was gonna beat poor Marty, and Marty didn't earn it, that means she knew something was going on more than the others.
Do we have a description for Johnny Naughty Hotcakes?
Yeah, I feel like you've probably all met Johnny before. Sorry, Naughty Johnny Hotcakes. Before, as they are one of the like main bartenders.
So I know her pretty well.
And like, she can definitely like hold her own against clientele who gets grabby, but you've never heard of her be violent towards like anyone who doesn't deserve it.
So maybe my mind was elsewhere, but I feel like I missed something. Why is Johnny going to be any more useful than any of the other yahoos who failed us this evening?
Well, it seemed like Naughty Johnny Hotcakes was a little bit more aggravated than the others. Might be that she knew more than the others.
Hmm. As much as I really didn't want to do real work this evening, there is another option.
You're
Oh,
not.
what you
You're
got?
not doing your spooky shit, are you?
Henry nods.
Oh.
Heck.
We got to get somewhere more private, I think, for that, don't we? Hmm.
Are we in a hurry or not?
Fair point. Do your thing.
I pocket the jewels and I chuck the rest of the crap just off screen.
On
Rock.
screen. Woo!
The candle, please.
Granny will hobble over and lean down and grab it. Here you go, lad. Use it well.
The candlestick is like a finely worked sterling silver kind of thing. It does have the nub of wax still stuck in it. It's been burnt pretty low, but it's definitely up to what you need it to do.
Okay. So I think what I'm trying to do mechanically is probably an attune using my compel special ability. You can attune to the ghost field to force a nearby ghost to appear and obey a command you give it. You are not supernaturally terrified by a ghost you summon or compel in this way, though your allies may be. So
Okay.
Granny and Sigurd may want to avert their eyes. But the goal is to attune a ghost and force it from, and this is why I want to do it like near the golden cock, right?
Mhm.
Is I want to manifest a ghost who's been in the area for the last couple of days and compel it to tell me what it has seen about what's her face's secret dealings.
Okay.
Ooh,
Neric's secret dealings.
What if it's someone who died in the fire?
So much the better. We'll see who the ghost field spits out.
So you do know, I'm just going to throw some things out there for like lore reasons and just so that you are aware as you're doing this. So ghosts are created from bodies that essentially it's your life essence as you try to go on to the next world or the life after or whatever used to exist that's not there anymore. And so your essence forms into a ghost now, no matter what. Like this, you can't go anywhere else. And so there have been safety protocols put into place by the government that essentially if somebody dies, there are spirit alarms that go off. So every time somebody dies, a spirit alarm warns the people that come to take care of things to come and get the body in order to take it to be dissolved in this electroplasm and therefore stopping the creation of a ghost. This destroys the life energy and essentially melds it, the essence of it, with the power that energizes the city. So all of the electricity that you see, like these lamps that glow and like different things around the city that are powered by non archaic forms, are powered by electroplasm, with bodies that are like burnt in fire, for example. It is possible that ghosts are created much quicker because the body is not decaying over time. It is being destroyed rapidly, and that energy still needs to go somewhere. Fire does not destroy that energy. So there's a strong likelihood that burning alive should create ghosts. So you have this idea that being closer to the golden cock, you should be able to. However, there are also not always ghosts that there are not always bodies that are caught. There are people who will hide these things or whatever. So every so often there will be a random ghost floating around in the ghost field and in, doing these things. It's not usually until they become mad that they start to affect the world around them. So all of those things in mind, your plan is to get as close to the golden cock as you can without being seen in order to summon, ideally, a ghost of somebody who died in the fire. Does that sound correct?
Very close, yeah.
Okay.
I want to do it from the privacy of the alley where we're in.
Okay.
And my goal would be to get a ghost who has been in the area of the golden cock for the past couple of days.
Okay.
As a ghost. But like I said, I will see what the ghost field has to offer.
Totally.
And we will take it from there.
Okay.
But my goal here is information gathering on the comings and goings. That perhaps a ghost would be very well positioned to spy on.
Okay. So I don't see your sheet. Is there a roll that you have to do for this?
Yes, I think this would be an attunement roll.
Okay.
So I can set that up. I have an idea for a devil's bargain here to add an additional dice, which would basically involve maybe incurring some heat, but taking the time to set up perhaps like a magical circle or something like that to make the compel more effective, at the cost of making it pretty obvious that somebody was doing illegal ghost shit here. And
Totally.
It's a well-known hangout of the miracle workers.
Right.
So there might be consequences to that.
Okay. Yeah, that is another thing. Messing around with the ghost field is typically considered bad. So very, very good point to bring up. Make it so.
All right.
Or try to make
Do
it so,
that.
I guess I should say.
Let's do that roll. So that is, I think, 2 dice for attune and then a third for the devil's bargain, right?
Sounds good.
All right. So I got a 2, a 4, and a 6.
Ooh.
Excellent. Sorry, I'm thinking here. So you get your success. You've done this before, correct?
Yeah. Illegal arcane spookiness is it's the second biggest passion of mine.
Excellent. So as you actually tell me what does this attunement look like? What is this summoning of a ghost to you?
So Henry's working quickly, but some things can't be rushed. And like I said, we're trying to really reinforce the ritual here. So Henry places the candlestick, acting as kind of a spiritual anchor, in the center of the street. And then he takes some chalk out of one of his pockets and draws a circle and a pentacle around it, then inscribing a couple arcane symbols around the edge before placing the chalk back into his pocket and taking out one of his other arcane focuses and just staring and sort of mumbling at himself and exerting his will until he can, through his craft, command the ghost field to yield to his will and to serve up a spirit that will do his bidding.
Okay. So Granny and Sigurd, while this is happening, you notice that that cat has returned and is sitting on the trash can that it had jumped up onto. It brought friends, and they're all watching, and you notice as like the light that begins to slowly emanate this faint green around the candle and around Henry is reflected almost like ghost lights in their eyes, and like a little creepy chill runs up your spine as a spirit appears before Henry. What does this spirit look like, Granny?
Is this someone who died in the fire?
It is not.
Then it is a younger woman in her early 20s with long curls. She's in like grayscale, so we don't know what color her hair was, but it was light as opposed to black. And she is in like a tight-waisted dress, heavily corseted with a bustle behind it. And she's made up. You know she was a prostitute. And there is a slit across the neck. And her head is half caved in.
Okay. Excellent. Wheezy, what is this ghost's name?
Mertensia.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Mertensia.
Perfect. Thank you.
I love that name.
Mertensia the Ghost. So this
Sigurd is quietly like, he wants to keep watching the freaky cats, but he's just compelled to just stand quietly in awe of the ghost.
And maybe every so often your eyes glance over at those cats as they are kind of making this strange, very low rumble.
How many cats? Are we talking about like 6?
A clouder. 50? How many's in a clouder of cats? There are 6 cats. Yes.
Okay, so he's creeped out, but he's not threatened.
Okay.
It's a lot of cats, though. That's too many cats.
I think Granny at one point knew Mertensia. A long time ago. She
Okay.
recognized this woman.
Granny might notice then that there is a certain beyond the obvious, which likely was either brought to you through the rumor network of how Mertensia died, or maybe you saw the body. It's not shocking, but there's like a state to her ghost that is off-putting. And as Henry, as you summon it, you know this ghost is wrong already. Like, it has lingered far too long to be well in its thinking and its existence. So you don't have much time with it before it will begin to affect those around you. What do you do?
I think I command it, Ghost. You will tell me of Nirik's secret comings and goings for the past few days. Who did she betray the miracle workers to?
Sorry. In a very thin voice that, while wispy, also sounds vaguely like it has aspects of nails being dragged down a chalkboard, she responds, Nirik has been gone for many days. Her soul was sent screaming into oblivion.
Sigurd, who's pretending he's not listening and watching the cast, is like, Ark, spooky shit never works.
Then who replaced her? What did they hope to gain by attacking us?
Her eye, like the one that isn't smashed in with the side of her skull, glances over at Sigurd and then glances at Granny. There's almost a look of recognition before it looks back at Henry. You reek of it. Its scent still follows you wherever you go.
I think Henry is losing patience and is sort of trying to, I'm going to say, inflate his own sense of importance or even his own will. Says, "Damn it, you mad spirit! Reek of what? Was this other hawkers? Were they trying to get in on our business? Was this a hit? Who did this?"
She laughs, and the sound kind of bounces around the area, caught by the fog and reflected back at you. And she says, "You fallen scion of a house long left for dead. You've been carrying this thing with you your entire life. And now it's come for you at last."
Am I getting the impression that essentially I'm running out of useful time with this ghost, or can I get a few more questions in?
You can continue asking. Define useful time. And I'll let you know when you hit the end.
Okay.
Like, are you trying to protect your allies here, or are you going to ring it for as much information as you can?
So follows me wherever I go. What is it? Is it a person? Is it a crew? Is it the Bluecoats?
You thought it was a person long ago. But you...
A spirit, then.
Yes.
But not like you.
Not like... I just linger. I don't destroy everything I touch.
It's fucking Skurlock, isn't it?
She laughs. If that's what it was calling itself. Sorry.
Very well. Be gone.
Sounds like your old friend is up to something. Where do we go? Who do we murder?
That damn vampire.
That sounds dangerous. But if that's what it'll take.
What does Granny and Sigurd know about Skurlock the vampire?
What have you told them? As Skurlock the vampire is fairly personal information for you.
I don't think that I would have been coy about it. Henry's very much an egotist. He would love to speak about himself. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Granny or Sigurd actually give a damn about him or his history. So
He can absorb things by osmosis.
Yeah, I was presuming we have heard you complain about Skurlock. I am assuming I don't know what or who Skurlock is. That was sort of
Gotcha.
my presumption.
we've heard you bitch about him, but we don't know he's a vampire or anything more than that. Like he could honestly be your playground bully for all I know.
Then they've probably heard that there is someone called Skurlock who used to be a butler working for the Beaumont family many years ago when they were much more prosperous. But it's probably new information that just perhaps the degree of rivalry or capability that Skurlock would have, or even just the fact that he's a vampire in the first place. So that's probably coming as news to Henry's companions.
So we need to go fight a vampire. Oh, that gives me the willies. How do you kill him?
So we took the redhead. The vampire took the redhead out the alleyway.
That, or from the sounds of it, that was the vampire in disguise.
Sigurd doesn't. He feels silly for not recognizing that it wasn't. I'm assuming that right now we're that that Neric that we've been talking to, that was all shell shocked. That wasn't Neric.
Yeah.
That's. He feels very silly for not recognizing he even had his hands on her and he couldn't tell.
Yeah, Granny's pissed about that too. She wants to go a murdering.
No one hurts our friends like that.
So with all this going on, Henry, I want you to do a resolve resilience roll.
Okay, gotcha. Resolve roll. It's rolling a 2 and a 4.
4. Okay, so you're going to take 2 stress as you realize that this vampire that has been haunting your family's existence for many years has apparently become quite active in messing with your own life, at the very least. Can you tell us how much, because like your family is definitely not where it used to be, but what is its current condition? Do you have family that's alive? Are you it did call you the last scion of a fallen family, so you're like currently the oldest, but do you have siblings, etc.?
I think that Last Scion is technically correct, but only if you follow like a very patriarchal, like male line descendant kind of from great grandfather Beaumont or whatever the hell, right? So I don't think that Henry has any direct siblings. He has a cousin, Samantha, who lives in town and works as a bureaucrat. They are not close. She is a Beaumont. But if you're the type of snob that really cares, she would not count.
Okay.
Does she count to Henry? I'm hearing no.
I mean, he has probably hit her up for loans a couple of times. But I'm not going to say they're probably not emotionally very close.
Okay.
If he sees her in public, he doesn't.
Now, if something bad were to happen to her, I think he'd be quite cross, but probably in a selfish way because it would reflect poorly on the family name and therefore on him.
And what about your other family, your parents, any aunts, uncles?
I'm going to say that the older generation has all passed and been dissolved into the
goo,
the electrical goo.
Okay.
Which thank goodness that they can't see what Henry has been reduced to.
Okay. You do have a small manor that is technically still in your name, but a lot of the keeping of that is like you're technically not even allowed on the grounds, as the loans that you have taken out to retain it, those people currently own it until you pay them back. That kind of situation. So the vast empire that your family once used to have, whatever business that was, is gone. And you and Samantha are it. Does that sound correct?
Yep.
Okay. What do you all do?
Well, I think revenge has to be on the menu. Not just because it will bring me great personal satisfaction, which it absolutely will, but because if that bastard is trying to target me specifically, then anything that we rebuild is in danger while he still doesn't draw Brett. You get the point.
You remember that I will throw this out there. So Skurlock was the name of the butler that worked for your grandfather. That's the only name that you know to call this spirit, as you're not totally sure if or when the butler became the vampire, if you've ever known the actual butler. But you do know that a lot of Skurlock's plans that have led to your family's downfall have taken years to come to fruition, and this kind of like sudden violence is actually maybe a little off-putting or surprising. Kind of reeks of Endgame. And maybe it's because you and Samantha are all that's left. And so these large motions are very big and violent, and you feel final. Like this is Skurlock coming for you, but making you suffer along the way.
And wrapping up all of my companions and the miracle workers along with it.
Right.
So, aren't you glad you teamed up with me?
He has never been glad.
Okay. So what does this look like? Your revenge.
How do you want to do it? How do we find him? Tell old Granny.
I don't know. Do we want to hunt him down? Do we shake down the city? Do we try to set a trap? What sounds right?
Do they have to sleep?
What do I know about vampires? I'm assuming as a spooky dude, they're not entirely unknown to me.
Yeah. As far as you know, vampires don't need to sleep. And there's a rumor that once such creatures like were harmed by sunlight. However, now that has no benefit to you whatsoever.
I don't think something like him requires rest at all. He can do his spidery meddling from any time and maybe even any place in the city. But even a master spider still needed someone to break into the cock and set the fire. Unless he did that from the other side of town as well. That prospect sort of seems to disturb
Well, if
Henry a
he's
little bit.
masquerading, if he's masquerading as Nirik, it's a little easier to do it, isn't it?
He wouldn't know that we knew.
No.
As far as Skurlock knows, the Nurek costume is still intact. And if we kept up our part of the masquerade, Nurek would expect to see us again soon.
Or to come looking for our good friend.
So we need to be searching for Skurlock, yes. But the cover, we're searching for Nurek.
Aye. Let's do it then.
So, let's go back to where I found all the stuff.
Lead them back to where there's jewels and such still sort of strewn about, and describe the egg that she had that isn't here as best he can.
I'm going to have Henry. Do you have any dots in study?
I do. I have 2 dots in study.
Go ahead and roll a study roll for me, please.
Okay. What am I studying?
It's actually going to be what have you studied.
Fair enough. A 6 and a 4.
Excellent. As Sigurd is describing this object, you recall seeing like a sketch in one of the more illicit books that you have read upon as far as your messing around with ghosts and summoning them. There is an object that will capture and hold spirits within it. One of them that you've heard of was this kind of Fabergé egg looking thing. It's more of a contraption. There are some bits to it that will open up, and there are like rather esoteric objects inside of it that, when combined in the the configuration that they are in, will allow you to trap spirits within it. You're not really sure why.
I mean, exploiting spirits is nothing new. The whole damn city runs on it.
Right.
Right? But you can, I think, make them do many things, from piloting a hull to operating the lightning fences. So it would stand to reason that what's this spirit cage called? Is there a name for it?
I like spirit cage. That's good.
Okay. This trinket, the spirit cage, it probably doesn't do either of those things. But it could do something else. I don't know if it starts fires or if it disguises people or does something else.
You remember, I will give you with the 6, you also do remember a little bit that it was like the early answer to the ghosts leaning, like going about, essentially would trap them and keep them from harming people, but is more of a collecting way, and there wasn't a, the things that are needed to create them are very rare, and so it wasn't an ongoing option. They're not really all that common these days, except for when you've heard of like some people that might have one when they're further away from this city than is safe, before like they can come get the bodies when somebody dies and take it before the ghost forms, that kind of thing. It's more of a backup plan now.
Okay, now I'm even more motivated to go after Skurlock, because this kind of curiosity, if I don't choose to pawn it, this would make just a wonderful thing to put on my mantle and brag about.
Excellent.
This historical curiosity.
So
all of my weird friends are going to be so jealous.
Excellent. So from this alleyway where the last sign of Nurek? Sorry, we've been talking about so many people. My brain just turned off. Nirik was found. Where would you like to go?
That's shite. You know more about this thing than anybody. Where the vampires fight.
Before I fully remembered what the spirit cage was, I was thinking, to keep an eye out for it in a pawn shop or something like that if Skurlock had been trying to get rid of it. But I feel like it has to have something to do with his plan. Maybe we could reach out to our networks and see if that's something that got sold recently. If Skurlock had this all along, maybe he would have acted long ago. Maybe he only did this now because he just got it, and we could find the person that sold it to him. Do we know the parts of town where this sort of thing might be for sale?
Sure. It is still night, technically, so just saying that's maybe not a thing you can do right this moment, but if you wanted to head that direction, I will also remind you that you had planned to bring in a new entourage of workers for the Golden Cock this morning, and I don't know what you want to do about that. If you want to just like let the people at the lair take care of it, or Granny, if you're just like, that's my job, I need to be there. That is a thing that is out there. Also, I wanted to mention, because you all may not be watching the clocks on Twitch, there are 2 clocks going. One you don't know what it's for, and the other is Fire Bad. You have marked 3 of Fire Bad. You're almost... I almost want to mark off the last one, but I'm going to leave it there.
Well, maybe we should investigate the space for signs of where Nirik/Skurlock went. And maybe fill up that clock in the process? Or at least make the attempt. What would we use for that? I could see myself in a finesse role, like sneaking about, looking at things without interacting with folks, trying to like stay in the shadows. I could see myself trying to do that. I don't know what the other 2 would like to do.
And this is to find out what exactly?
Yeah, so given we know where like Nirik probably disappeared, at least the stuff was dropped. Like surveying the area and trying to get around everyone and avoid being like seen looking too closely.
Okay. So essentially hanging out here and keeping an eye on the place, hoping somebody will come along, or you'll find other clues.
Yeah, like I want to dig around for clues around like where Nirik or Skurlock could have gone, and any more ideas on like motivations and causes behind the fire. Maybe if we find out more information about the fire itself, that will give us sort of a direction to head.
Okay.
That's what
So I will give you that while it doesn't happen all the time, and especially now that you're not sure that Nirik is Nirik will come down to the... Calling it culling is just such a bad sounding thing, but the shopping of new workers for the Golden Cock, the choosing, the review, yes, the review of those folks who come into the sorry, I have to double check what it was called, the metamorphosis, in order to find and even if she's not there, she does know when your reviews are, so that she can join you if she chooses. So if you were looking for Nirik, you would expect to find her in a couple hours at the Metamorphosis. Because you're not sure this is Nirik, that isn't a given. The other place would obviously be the Golden Cock if it were her. So I'll give you that, and then if you want to stay where you are and watch and look around for more clues, you can absolutely do that. And we'll see what the others want to do.
Yeah, I want to fill up that clock. I want to try.
Okay.
All right.
While you are... I'm just going to check and see what everyone is doing to see if they're helping you or not. Is anyone not staying here with Granny?
Sigurd's going to stay with Granny and help her look for stuff, lifted barrels, stuff like that.
Okay.
Would it make sense for me to head back to the Metamorphosis now and just make sure that that's also not a pile of ash?
Yes. That makes sense. And also to prep for the review,
Okay.
assuming it still will occur.
So if all is well, you will meet me there. If not, I'll come back and find you.
Okay. So while Henry heads off through the fog, which is beginning to dissipate, but it's hard to tell as the lights in this alley are quite faint, and you're just kind of going off of ambient light that's coming through. A very dim grayness begins to overcome the blackness of the sky. And I'm trying to remember what the help rules are. I think Sigurd can do something to help Granny make that roll.
I think it's Sigurd can spend 1 stress to add 1 die to Granny's roll.
I think you're
that's the rule.
correct.
Yeah, and what did you want me to roll here?
So, let us have you roll a survey.
A survey. Darn it, I have nothing in survey, so that extra die if there is aid will help.
There is indeed aid. He's taken a point of stress.
Okay.
Okay.
You can always push yourself.
And do what?
Pushing yourself allows you to claim a bonus die in exchange for 2 stress. So
You know what? I will do that.
Okay. So Granny
I'm gonna push myself. Yeah.
So what does this stress feel like? What's causing you so much mental worry there, Granny?
I think that everything feels insecure right now. We don't know what's happening with our own base. These people are, by all accounts, not just business partners, but friends. And my closest friend, Nirik, is possibly already dead, and I didn't even know. So I think that the emotional weight of everything is forcing her to really push to find information, and she's probably even though she has the help from Sigurd, I think she's gonna physically push herself to move things, and then Sigurd will jump in and move a barrel, right? But she's gonna be hurting her knees. Her hips are gonna be creaky by the end of this, and that's what's going on.
I feel for you, Granny. Okay, perfect. Sigurd, so you're taking stress from helping. What does that seem like?
He has one job right now, and that's to help her do stuff, look out for her, and they got by him. He had his hands on her, and it wasn't... He'd never been especially fond of Nirik, but all things in the Golden Cock belong to him. This is his territory, this is his turf, and somebody's messed with it, and he doesn't know what to do now.
Okay, awesome. All right, so roll those 2d6 and let me know what you get.
All right, and tell me, with this survey roll, my position. What is my position?
Oh, we're going to go with... Sorry, it's risky and...
Risky, controlled, or desperate?
We're going to go with risky.
Okay.
And you are in standard...
Standard, limited, great, extreme, 0?
We're going to go with... Actually, let's go with limited on this.
Okay. And this hopefully will give us like last piece of information we
Yeah.
just need. And I have 2 bonus die. Oh wait, you 2 stress for 1 die, then the one from Sigurd, because otherwise I have none. Let's see. I got a 5 and a 2.
Okay, so with the 5, you're looking around this area, and you don't see anything like where things were dropped and such. And you're pushing yourself. You keep like going further out and further out, kind of in this, not a grid pattern necessarily, but you're not really even paying attention to where you are until the heat hits you, and you look up, and a lot of the morning fog has lifted. It's taking you this long, and you look up, and there's the golden cock, and it is still on fire. It is still an inferno, and it doesn't seem right. I'm gonna have you do a resolve resistance roll.
Resolve resistance? Okay. All right. I got a 3 and a 3.
Okay, you're gonna take 3 stress,
Oh shit.
and it just like overwhelms you how over your head you are, as this fire is obviously not normal. It is not natural. This building should have collapsed already. It should have burned itself out. There's not anything in there that should have taken this long for the fire to go out, or to keep going. Whatever Henry has brought upon you, sorry Henry, is beyond the normal.
Is it an illusion?
It doesn't feel like an illusion. There's definitely like the heat of it coming off of it. How would you tell if it was an illusion?
By the way you're describing it, that the fire itself like should have already gone out by now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that means there's an abundance of accelerant that we were unaware of,
Mm-hmm.
or if it means that the fire itself is magical and potentially an illusion, and I can't see through it, but it's strange. And
Mhm.
strangeness isn't my job. That's why we have Henry.
Right. Have you dealt much with Strange before? Besides
think-
Henry?
Besides Henry, I mean, this gal's been around the block a few times. And it's Duskfall, so like strange happens.
Yeah.
She's definitely familiar with that in her circles, but I don't think she studies the strange. I think it's sort of that foreign wahoo nonsense that people like Henry love,
Okay.
right?
It certainly feels like that. It definitely has a strong smacking of the strange. But what would be causing it, you're not really sure. If it is an illusion, it is an awfully real looking illusion.
Okay. Could I maybe... I do have 1 pip in study.
Okay.
Could I maybe think through like my mental Rolodex of stuff I have read
Sure.
to see if there's anything I know that can help me understand this?
Absolutely. While you roll that, I'm going to ask what Sigurd is doing.
Sigurd is circling the building and getting closer, seeing if the heat is what's going on, because he's also noticed that this should have burnt down by now.
Mhm.
This doesn't make sense. This doesn't follow the natural laws, and he is cussing out Henry under his breath because this is all his fault.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to be trying to figure out while it's going on, or are you just kind of hanging out?
He's looking for a source,
Sure.
or an entrance, or a source, or like, because he's noticed that this doesn't seem natural either. Is there some kind of MacGuffin in there that's doing something?
Gotcha. So I feel like Sigurd has probably seen there are these contraptions called flamethrowers, and as long as they have a fuel source feeding it, they'll just continue to produce flame. This reminds you of that so much that you're like, either there's like a fuel source inside that is just constantly doing it, or it's supernatural, which is that crap that Henry takes care of. It is definitely not normal, and it seems like the building itself has been damaged as you've gotten closer to kind of look at it. Like there's definitely damage, but it's still standing. The wood is gone from the areas you can see, but the brick foundations and skeleton of the building are still there. Does that answer your questions? And as far as any entrances or anything, there are still fire, there's still flames just belching out of it.
Yes, Sigurd's gonna do a little science. He's picking up buckets and seeing if he can put it out. He doesn't know what else to do right now. He's
Okay.
saying, does this fire get affected by water? Does it seem like it's spreading?
It does not seem to be spreading. In fact, you've noticed that so there was like the bucket brigade earlier, and those buckets are just kind of laying around now. There is a larger group of people watching now, and you can, as you're moving amongst them, you can hear them talking about how weird this is and how the fire didn't spread to the nearby buildings. There's a building nearer to it than you can see that's on the backside of it that it did not go to, almost like it's being contained within this building. Excuse me, by something. And you remember that when the bucket brigade was throwing water on it before, it had no effect whatsoever. And so if you'd like to try, you can go and like pick up a bucket, get water and throw it on it, and it just like evaporates as it hits everything.
Sigurd's gonna work his way back over towards the group of people and just sort of watch them. Then he's going to grab somebody and ask them if they've seen. Well, I don't know what hotcakes looks like, but he's going to ask if they've seen hotcakes.
Okay, we'll come back to you as Granny. What did you roll?
Yes. So is this a controlled position with limited effect? Is sort of been my presumption?
Yeah, we'll call it control because you would have been in a situation where like the things that you're reading were very under control and everything. Limited would.
Or do you think this is standard effect?
We can go with standard for this one.
Okay. Then I got a 3.
A 3. No such luck. I was kind of going with standard and limited, or standard and controlled. You've like been around the books that Henry brings in. Maybe you kind of like flipped through them and all that, but nothing really comes from the knowledge that you've gleaned from that.
Yeah, I'm just not that technical, so I've just never come across anything that would give me clues, but we'll just have to bring this up with Henry when we see him.
Okay. So Sigurd, you grab this fellow that has like he's wearing like his PJs and his like an overrobe, and as you grab him, his red hair, his like kind of curly, damp red hair is like matted to his head. He's been standing out here close to the fire for far too long, and you ask him where Hot Pants went, and he just kind of looks at you like dazedly for a moment, like, why are you grabbing me? But then you see, let's see, what is this person's name going to be?
Is this the one that's potentially related to?
No. No, this is a different person. That was Marty the Rascal. This is an older fellow, probably in his mid to late 20s. Marty was a child. This fellow just seems to probably live around here. You don't recognize him. But as he searches for an answer, I am trying to think of a great stage name. So somebody throw something at me for somebody who works at, like, is one of the contracted workers at the Golden Cock.
Jan Swanson.
Swanson. All right, so Jan, who is you've seen Jan before. In fact, you're pretty sure Granny got Jan to sign the contract. And then Granny and Jan spent like a good afternoon and the next a large portion of the next morning in Granny's room. You're really not sure what was going on in there. But Granny seemed really happy the next morning as the finalities of the contract that Jan signed were worked out. But Jan works at the Golden Cock, and he's wearing like some like short shorts that are made out of leather, and like a bandolier of just leather, and he's glistening. And you're
How
not
about lederhosen? How about short lederhosen because he's
excellent.
Jan,
Totally, I love it.
and an alpine hat.
Yeah,
That's it.
The alpine hat is kind of like skewed off to the side, and there's like his slick blonde hair is sticking out from underneath it. Jan leans in. He's all like, "Oh no, we haven't seen Johnny Hotcakes since she went off with sorry, I can't think of her name, even though she's my boss, Nirik."
Oh, lad, where did she go?
Oh, Granny, it's so good to see you. They went off earlier. She seemed very upset.
When was I there?
Oh,
2 days, 4 days, an hour.
no. After the fire, I saw you all move in here, but I didn't get to you in time before you headed off. And then Nirik and the others, Johnny and some of the others were hanging out, and they were talking. And then they were like, "Oh, we've got to go. We'll be back soon." And then they left, but we haven't seen them since they left.
Which way did they go?
They went that way, and he points towards the direction you came from when you came this way from finding her stuff.
Did you see where they went after that?
Oh no, I've been here trying to help the people that are putting out the fires, and then once we realized that wasn't going to work, well then, I this is where I live. I don't really have a place to go.
Well, if you need a roof over your head, there's always Granny's room. For old time's sake, she'll
Oh,
pitch his ass.
I do like Granny's room. I wouldn't even charge you if you were letting me stay there.
You're a good boy.
He would blush, but he's already like flushed from the fire.
Speaking of the fire, at the risk of what might be table talk, I'm just dying to know if the bag of candies that Granny carries with her have melted together or not.
Right? How are these hard candies like Werther's, or are they like softer chews?
Oh, they're all hard candies, and they're all wrapped in little papers.
They might have
Different
softened.
colored.
Yeah, they might be softened from being this close to the fire, but it's they haven't melted together quite yet. But
It would be a hell of an illusion if it could also soften candy.
Mm-hmm.
that is true.
Yeah.
So with this all going on, I do feel like Henry has been ignored. So let's go back to Henry for a bit. Henry, you're moving through the city to get to the metamorphosis. What is your plan for doing so? Are you just like walking that way? Are you running that way? Are you trying to be dodgy about things? Are you trying to hide? Are you what's your plan?
There's no possible way for Henry to try to just act casual. The way that he dresses, it's just not
That's fair.
that's not going to be a thing.
Right.
And similarly, the colors that he chose this morning are not particularly conducive to stealth. So I think he's just making haste.
Okay. As you move through, you notice that there are people starting to like wake up and move out into the city. Usually the first of the month is a little slower for the mornings because everyone has kind of spent the night celebrating and such. But that kind of early morning bustle is starting to begin. The fog is thinning, and so there are a couple of entrances that you can head towards for the metamorphosis. There's the front door, which is essentially where everyone that doesn't realize that this is essentially a front goes through in order to access the business side of things. And then there are a couple of entrances that are around the back of the building that lead through some tunnels into like the audition chamber. And then there are like rooms and such above where you all live, and like other workshop rooms, and where you keep like all of your weapons and such. Where are you heading?
I think I'm going to go in through one of the private entrances.
Okay. So you come to a dark alley. That in and of itself is not strange, as it's always dark here on the world. But there is a strangeness to it that you don't really catch right away. Go ahead and make a roll to see if you notice something, essentially. That can be survey.
I'll use survey for this one.
Okay.
That is 6.
6. Nice. You start to head down the alley. It's dark. The little bits of fog that are still there are slowly disappearing. And you realize that there is no light. Usually there is a electroplasm light that burns in the door, like the next to the doorway that you enter. There are a couple other doorways that go off from here that go into other houses and businesses, but the alley is completely dark. And the way that it's built up, it's hard to see the sky from here, like how the city is built up on top of itself. In the area that you're in, a lot of those go over this alley. You don't see anything.
So, maybe taking advantage of the flashback feature again. I think I want to check. I want to imagine that for the whole crew, we basically had a code that if we needed to abandon the our hideout, maybe because somebody was attacking it or the blue coats had caught on or something like that, that we would mark a nearby mailbox or a window or something like that to show this place is compromised and it's not safe. So I want to see if anybody has done that.
So there are ones that are outside of the alley that you didn't notice, but you weren't really looking. And you know that the first doorway that goes into someone else's, essentially they've been paid that if you ever need to leave messages for people, that they can be dropped at their doorway. And there's like a little insignia that can be like stuck in the door, should that be the case. It's very dark, it's hard to see. Do you want to, like, what is your personal source of light when you need it?
I carry a lantern.
Okay. So do you want to light your lantern, or do you want to feel around for...
If it's dark enough that I can't just squint and get it done, then yeah, I think I'm lighting the lantern.
Okay. As you light the lantern, you don't see the sigil card that's should be like slotted into the doorway. But you do notice splotches of red down the alley.
Paint or tomato juice?
Maybe.
Does this look like high velocity tomato juice or more of like a drip?
More of a drip.
Okay.
As one gets when one hangs kegs of tomato juice to allow it to drip like that, yes.
Can I tell what direction it's going? Are there any smears or anything like that would help?
It looks like these drips are forming pools that are just kind of, if they get to a point that they like break the area they're sitting in, they just kind of flow naturally. Doesn't look like they're going in a direction forcefully or anything.
Okay. I'll try to follow them briefly, but I think Henry is very much on edge and worried about being ambushed without the backup from Sigurd and Granny.
Okay.
So if he's not finding something quickly, he's probably being pretty conservative about this and ready to break it off if something looks too scary.
Okay. You hesitantly step forward and you're looking at these puddles, and the lantern shines down its limited light, not quite reaching the door at the end of the alley that you're trying to get to. And as you take another timid step forward, a wetness, cold but sticky, lands on your hand and drips down onto the lantern with a hiss as the heat from the lantern begins to boil this red liquid.
I look up.
Just within the light of your lantern, you can see a fellow. It takes you a moment to realize that this is Morgan, one of your crew, because the barbed wire that is stretched around his face and body is contorting him in ways that aren't natural, as it seems to like squeeze the blood out of him. There's almost like the sound of wire pulling tight, and you don't know if it's real or if it's your imagination, as the wire might be grinding against itself. Morgan is very definitely not alive any longer. If you realize that is the cold of his blood is no longer body temperature. And beyond that are other shapes that you can't make out, but are also stretched between the walls above you.
I think that for all of the weird stuff that Henry has seen, this just really has him rattled. So I think he's showing off just how fast he can run in heels and
right,
heading back towards Granny and Sigurd.
I also feel like you need to do a resolve resistance roll.
Okay. Resolve.
This is related to how well you can run in heels.
All right. I got a 1 and a 3.
A 3. You're going to take 3 stress from seeing the body of at least one of your cohorts in such a horrible manner above you. And as you're running, you know, it's kind of flashing in your mind. Every time you blink, you can see it, and you feel like you can see the faces of the people behind that. And maybe it was real and maybe it wasn't, but you're pretty sure you know that there are other people that are in your crew that were above where Morgan was hanging. And when I say hanging, I don't mean like by the throat. It was more like stretched out above you vertically, or sorry, horizontally, his body pulled in different directions. You were running back to where you left them, or where were you planning on meeting them? Or how were you going to find them?
Either back at the Golden Cock or in a relatively straight line, with the idea, you know, we all know the route between Metamorphosis and the Cock. So.
Yep. Sorry, just all the cock jokes today. I'm trying to not make them.
It's so hard.
It is. It's the hardest. Granny and Sigurd, what are you up to?
I think it's about time to go find Henry.
Okay.
At least that's what I feel. How about you, Sigurd? What do you think?
Let's go collect that shite.
All right, then. I think we've got all we can over here. Let's take the dark streets back to our place, find Henry, and get some answers if we can.
Okay.
This is us heading toward metamorphosis from the cock.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So
We'd call that walk the taint.
can I give you inspiration? I just feel like I could, if only inspiration were a thing. How are you going to get there? Are you going to go the most direct route? Are you trying to hide from those who might be looking?
I think it would be suspicious if we tried to hide.
Okay.
I figured that Sigurd has just sort of taken Granny's arm, and they just look like a doting grandson and grandma.
Lad,
Walking in the early morning light.
that's a good boy. Such a good boy helping your granny like that. Yes. Walk slowly now. Don't rush. Don't want to hurt myself.
Yeah, in fact, as you're walking, you can hear the click of Granny's hip that is just like slightly not really where it should be after like moving around those crates and stuff. And ahead of you, you can see just like arms pumping, hat long gone. You're not even sure where that hat went there, Henry. Hair just kind of wild, and as he gets closer, eyes just as wild. Henry comes running up to you.
They strung up Morgan. They fucking killed him.
What? What, lad? What happened? Tell us.
Just blood and in the sky. Him and I think the others were. Oh Jesus! Henry's just he's doubled over, like hands on his knees, just like panting and momentarily unable to speak, but feeling so much better that he's back with Granny and Sigurd.
Show us the way.
He coughs. It fucking metamorphosis. I told you. I took the back entrance, or I was gonna, but in the alley, up like 2-3 stories up, maybe.
And the two of you do notice that on Henry's hand is a smear of red. In fact, there's a little bit on his face where you've like, you reached up to wipe something, not thinking about the blood on your hands.
Well, let's go take a look.
Sigurd
Together.
moves with Granny towards the metamorphosis, looking like they're just ready to go. Are we going towards the front entrance or the back? Like we're regular patrons, or towards the service entrance or whatever the hell?
I suppose we'll go in the back door.
This way, man.
Henry, are you good with that?
Henry follows. I think he's a little too shaken and winded to say much,
Okay.
but he's following Sigurd and Granny.
Okay.
But get your weapons out, lads. There could be danger.
I would like Henry to make a study roll.
All right. Two twos.
Okay. Then I will not give you this information that I wanted to give you. All right. As the three of you reach the alley that Henry was at earlier, Henry's a little bit behind Granny and Sigurd, a little shake to your hand, and you try and like wipe off the blood some more. It's just kind of smearing around at this point. Who's going first?
Well, Sigurd goes first.
Okay. So Sigurd, as you step into the alleyway, it is again dark. Is there anything that you would like to use as a light source, or are you just going to kind of feel your way down to the end without light?
He has snatched the lantern from Henry.
Okay. That lantern has long since gone out, but you're easily able to relight it, and you hold it up, and sure enough, not far down the alley, Morgan is splayed out. These strands of barbed wire are wrapped around him in these awkward positions, like some around his face and his head, and then stretched off into, it looks like they're wrapped around the iron of like fire escapes and such, different things that they could be attached to. And you notice that there are a few more forms outside of the light as you head down. As you continue, you do notice lower on the same level as Morgan was are others that are in your crew, similarly cruelly hung up there to be drained, and none of them appear to be alive. And then finally you reach the end, and there is the doorway standing open. No ghost light lighting its frame. I'm going to have you
Does it look like it was forced open or just left open?
That is a good question. I'm going to have you do a stress roll real quick, a resistance roll. You're going to do resolve.
All right, so we got 2 resolves, so 2d6.
Yep.
So we got 2 5s.
2 5s. Kind of knowing what to expect. Even though this is disheartening, it's not quite as stressful. You have a goal in mind, and you are just following that to get through this. You don't take so you'll take 1 stress, but it's much easier to handle than what Henry went through. Following on Sigurd's heels, what is Granny doing?
I think Granny is closely following, looking for danger.
Okay. Are you looking up to see these people, or are you just kind of like tunnel visioning it, knowing what's up there?
No, I'm gonna look at him.
Okay. I am going to have you do a stress roll. That is going to be a resolve.
Mm-hmm. And I got a 6 and a 4.
Excellent. Again, knowing what to expect, and kind of like hardening yourself against what you know is there. You're able to look up there, and you look them like in the eye. Some of them are, kind of staring blankly down at you. Others their eyes are closed or rolling off in the other direction. And the 3 of you come to the door. You notice that the door appears to just be open. Like it was opened from within, or someone with a key. There's no force that was used to open it.
Has there been any blood tracked in or out of the pathway that leads to and from the door up the steps into the establishment?
You do not see any.
Sigurd peeks his head inside and steps in.
Okay. It's very dark in there. There are no lanterns lit like you would expect. The ghost lights inside are all off. You hold the lantern up to take a good look around. It's actually surprisingly quiet and clean in here.
Like undisturbed?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Sigurd moves as quietly as he can forward through the establishment towards the front, moving past, I would assume, is this a salon, the stations, the mirrors.
Sure. Are the others following Sigurd?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. As you move through the building, coming through the hallways and the small rooms that are in the ground floor, entering into the large audition room, going forward from there to the the separation between the front and the back of the building, you go down a small hallway. It appears like this place has just been abandoned. There's nothing that has, like, there's no scuffle, there's no violence that's been done in here. You don't see signs of blood, you don't see people, and you enter into the salon. A very faint light spills through where you are, and you know that the lights out front, the various ghost lights and torches, are lighting the street out there. They appear to be going. How far into the salon do you want to go?
Sigurd keeps moving towards the front. He's checking the front door.
Okay.
Is this a 24-hour establishment? I assumed not.
Not typically. You can make exceptions for people who want to pay to come in and do that, but for the most part, it's closed and should be opening up in about an hour when you're expecting the caravan to come through this area. But you peer out and you notice that there are several people outside, kind of milling about, but none of them like directly in front, and they're all like looking up, or discussing things and pointing up. You do see some blue coats, which are like the city watch, standing outside, and you notice, Sigurd, you notice that there is a fellow. That fellow goes by the name of William Knott. Mr. Knott is in your crew, and he's talking to the blue coats.
How does he look when he's talking to them? Sigurd's pushed himself against.
Yeah, he looks
out
like
of the direct line of the sight of the window. He's peeking around. Is William look distressed, like he's having a friendly conversation, or under duress?
he does look distressed, but it's not so much. The blue coats are just kind of like listening and nodding, taking some notes. It looks like William is freaked out.
Can I hear what they're saying?
Not really. There's like there's glass in between you and the street, and they're on the other side of the street. And you, while you're watching, and you notice, what are Henry and Granny doing?
Can I tell what William is speaking to the blue coats about?
How would you do that?
Maybe can I think I would probably sneak up.
Okay, so you want to go
like,
out?
Yeah, I want to go out and sort of sneak around the corner and like listen.
Okay, go ahead and make a roll. That would be a prowl.
Ooh. I don't like that. But I'll take it. I just have nothing in that and 2 in finesse, and I was trying to figure out what I could
Tell me how you would work finesse in there instead of prowl. So prowl is like intentionally being sneaky, but
yeah, I think instead what I would do is I would employ subtle misdirection. And what I will do is I will find an alley cat, and I'm gonna throw an alley cat.
subtle misdirection. Meow.
Yep.
Excellent.
But go around the other side of the building as they're like focusing. So then they're not paying attention to where I actually am.
Okay.
And that way I can listen in.
Let's see how this turns out. Go ahead and roll your 2 finesse.
All right. Position, I assume, is risky.
Yeah, we're going to go with risky. And what's above limited?
There's limited, standard, extreme, and 0. And great. Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, standard, limited, great, extreme, 0. I feel like this could have great effect.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, let's see. I got a 1 and a 3.
Ooh. Okay, so you grab this, what you think is a cat. However, there are other creatures that live in this area, and what you thought was just a really hefty cat is a raccoon.
Oh no.
And the raccoon begins to hiss at you and freak out. And as you toss it, everyone looks over at you. And William Knotts points at you. There she is. She's the one who did this. Her and her friends.
What are you talking about?
And
Runs.
And the bluecoats turn, look at you, pull out whistles, begin blowing their whistles. And are you running into the building or down the street?
I'm running back behind the building, down the alley I had come up,
Okay.
out of sight. And then, so that way I can, like, get the boys' attention. We need to run.
Has been watching this whole thing, and it really wants to make sure that she's okay after the raccoon incident. And starts running toward Granny. And where's Henry?
Okay.
Where is Henry? Because we're grabbing Gobshite on the way out.
I think Henry sort of brushes Sigurd off, and then thinks better of it and takes off his coat and gives it to Sigurd, just as quick as he can, and says, "Ditch it in an alley." But then what Henry wants to do is hoping that all or at least enough of the bluecoats are going to be in pursuit of Granny and Sigurd. He actually wants to hide inside the darkened, quiet salon instead of running off down the street.
Okay. Everyone good with this plan?
Why the hell not?
I mean, I'm gonna kick your ass later, but yeah.
Excellent.
Sigurd just dropped the coat. He did not dispose of it, like, at all. Henry tried to hand it to him. Sigurd didn't touch it. It just dropped it.
You did the, like, hold your hand out and then just, like, pull your hand back so it falls. Okay. So...
Boys, you're both pretty. Let's go.
So as Granny runs with Sigurd following after, and Henry heads back into the darkness of the now empty metamorphosis, it is 10 after our stopping time. I think I planned too grandly for all of this. Would you three be interested in coming back for part 2 of this? Because I'm not sure we can wrap it up even in the next, like, 20 minutes to, whatever. Would you like a part 2?
I would.
I'd love
Definitely.
to. We
And
need to do
William's gonna
logistics, but yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. So without saying when this would happen, why don't we say that this is part 1 of We Get to Play Blades in the Dark, and we will announce soon when part 2 is coming, which is awesome because then it gives me a chance to allow more awesome funness for you all to come up with and how to deal with the things that are happening instead of trying to, like, push you in a direction. Awesome. Thanks so much for doing this. Why don't we do a round of outros where you can tell us who you are, where to find you on the internet, and if you want to be found, and if you have anything coming up that you want to share, please do so. So why don't we start? How do we do this? Let's go with Juicy first, because I think we went this way, and now we'll go
Okay.
this way.
Yes, hi, I'm Juicy Garland, Boston area drag queen and super nerd. I do lots of actual play stuff on the internet. You can find me at Juicy Garland or at juicy.garland. Search one, you'll find me. In addition to that, I'm in All Our Faults, a Monster Hearts 2 actual play podcast produced by Tabletop Tailspinners. Tabletop Tailspinners is a small but growing network focused on having the best possible talent with the most possible diversity in all of our casting. And we have season 2 of a show called Improv Madness, where everything is rolled randomly. That's coming out soon. Season 2 is. Season 1 is wrapping. We have other shows coming up that I'm really excited about but can't talk about yet. And you all need to pay attention to my socials to find out. Really, really excited about one that I'm going to be running.
Nice.
And in addition, you will be able to find us, I do believe, at Gen Con. we will have a couple actual play panels.
Nice.
And just, I do way too much all the time. I'm a crazy person. So follow me and find out where.
Excellent. I love it. Wheezy, how about yourself?
I'm Wheezy. I'm playing Sigurd, Granny's bodyguard, and wannabe right-hand man. You can find me on Wanderer's Haven, and that's about it for now.
Nice. Well, we love having everyone on, and you're everyone. And last but not least, I almost called you Henry. Ed, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Ed. I stream occasionally on Twitch TV as Neuromaster, and a lot more recently just showing up here for Wanderer's Haven stuff. Looking forward to doing a part 2 with y'all. And in the meantime, most Fridays, though I think not this coming one, you can also find me here doing Daggerheart with Jeremy and some of the other Wanderer's Haven crew, where I play a Seraph, kind of a very different vibe from Henry Beaumont. But that's what's so fun about Wanderer's Haven is just the variety of stuff that we get to do here. So it's a real pleasure, and I've had a great time.
Thank you. I enjoy having you on the everything that you've been in, and I'm so glad that Juicy got to join and Wheezy got to join today. Awesome to share tables with all of you. Yeah, we did miss saying He's Dead Jim on Friday. We're gonna have to keep closer eye on that because Ed's character is Jim, and yeah, Jim. You know, if you know, you know. I am Jeremy. This is the channel that you can find me on most of the time, but this Friday you can head over to Roll, ROLE_D5, as we do Talks D5, I think is what it's called. I'm pretty sure that is what it's called. Where we're just sitting around and talking about games and stuff. And I had scheduled that before we really knew what was going on with Daggerheart. Otherwise, this would be Daggerheart Friday. Also on Wednesday, you can join me for the ongoing series for the Horde of the Dragon Queen. We are taking the Tyranny of Dragons book from WotC and essentially playing the other side of it. They are the cultists, and they are trying to bring Tiamat back instead of trying to stop Tiamat from coming back, which is super fun. That crew is a ton of laughs as well. Chaos Goblins, I think, is what the other name for that show could be. Tomorrow, Monday, you can join me for some miniature making at 3 p.m. I really feel like I need to make Johnny Hotcakes now, or Hot Pants, or whatever. Maybe that'll be tomorrow's
Naughty
thing.
Johnny Hotcakes.
Naughty Johnny Hotcakes.
Johnny
Perfect.
Hot Pants is her cousin.
Right. What was I thinking?
Can we get a few more names in there? It's just so plain.
We will work on that. I'll take suggestions tomorrow during the stream. And I think that's it for this week. So yeah, follow me on the socials if you'd like at WH Pubs, or there's a link tree that's in there. It has all of the stuff. Also, want to do a shout out for our patron. Nope. If I can do this right, Patreon. Our Patreon patron, Raven, who is our great Wyrm. You can join her in the shoutouts if you'd like to by going over and signing up at the Great Wyrm or above. Also, if you want to catch all of our stuff after it airs, you can head over to YouTube. We're trying to hit our 500 follower goal, which we will, I'm sure, at some point. It's going to be fun. Thanks so much for joining today. Thank you all for being part of this game. I feel bad that it's going to be a two-parter, but I don't feel bad it's going to be a two-parter at all. So, thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to raid over to somebody that is currently streaming. Also, I wanted to say, make everyone who donated pupper treats to Libby. She appreciates it. She is definitely going to be happy when I go downstairs with all of those. Let's raid Dork Tales. Raid Dork Tales. And thanks everybody for joining us today. We will see you next time. Bye.